I'm happy to say it is once again time to build the Dalek. Let's get started. This is the underside of the bumper around the perimeter of the Dalek. When it was put together, each of the joints left behind a seam, which I then went ahead and filled that seam in using SpruGoo. This is a combination of the plastic and the glue. I'll put a link up in the corner or down in the description to a video where I talk a little bit more about SpruGoo and how to use it. But because of adding that on there, it leaves behind this rather nasty little bump on here. So that has to get sanded down. As you can see, as I go through different grits of sanding, I then can get rid of that little lump from the SpruGoo, get that down nice and smooth, and eventually get that joint repolished. Now, this joint is not 100% perfect, and I'm not really worried about it being absolutely perfect because it's going to be on the bottom. But once this is now resanded and nice and smooth, I can go ahead and give the whole piece a coating of a primer and then repaint it with the black, and that should make this whole underside section look as if it is one single solid piece. I'm going to do the same thing on the top part of the bumper that will be visible. Before getting into this month's build, I do want to touch on one thing that I did not do last month, and that was to put these foam spacers in. One advantage to having the instructions put online is that they are putting the instructions out a few issues ahead, and I'm able to go ahead and look to see if there's anything that might indicate whether I wanted to be able to add more of these little foam spacers, or if putting them in now was the best time to do it or not. And I decided that it was okay to go ahead and follow the instructions and get those put into place. So with those set into place, it's now time to go ahead and to get into this month's build. So here's a detail view of the lens with those hexagonal pattern that's in there. It'll be interesting to see once the lights are lit if that hexagonal pattern that's in there diffuses the light out any differently, if it creates any kind of a pattern on the floor. We'll see how that comes out later down the road. Each of these lenses and bezels are very similar, so I'm going to show the first one here and then be able to go ahead and do the other two off camera. So the first thing I want to do is to take the actual lens piece and set that down into the housing with the dome shape facing up. And then on the bezel itself, the way that this is set up so that it gets oriented correctly is the two longer posts are going to be on the top and bottom, or the towards the front, towards the back of the Dalek, and then the two smaller posts are actually pressure fit into the other two spots, and that's going to help to hold that in place while the screws are being put in, and it also helps to hold the black plastic sheet down in place as well. So this is going to get set into its location here, pressed into place, and each of these presses down as they go in, and they do lock down in there pretty tight. So that's the first one. So now, as one would expect, we're going to go ahead and get the screws in. And since the two posts are just pressure fit. We don't have to worry about them. We just have to put the 2 screws in like this. Now onto the other 2. And with that, that's the end of step number 63. On to step number 64. Step number 64. In step 64, we're going to put in the last of the small lens and bezel, and then we have the center lens and bezel for the center light. We also get 2 wire clips to be able to tidy up the initial wires that we've put in. And then all of these screws are going to be for not only screwing in these 2 bezels, but also to screw down the bottom part of the skirt that holds the plastic sheet in place. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and attach that today, but I will get that done as soon as I have the painting on that completed. Just as before, the lens is going to drop down inside, and then the bezel is going to go around the exterior, lining up those holes, getting them ready for the screws. And that's that one in. I'll put the screws in a moment. For the center section, the very large lens sets down in place. And then on the bezel, there's actually an arrow that will point towards the front of the Dalek. And that will then allow that bezel to sit down into there quite neatly. Now I'll go ahead and get this flipped over and get the screws put into place. The two retaining clips are going to help to organize these wires. So I'm going to group these 3 sets of wires into place, and they're going to get connected here. I'm going to group these 3 sets of wires and connect them here. However, when I was looking back at the instructions, they actually show the light wires to be going underneath this rail and then into the circuit board. So I'm going to go ahead and make that adjustment now so that it'll be the way that the instructions are showing that to be set up. So I've just taken out the L4 wire. Get that underneath, and I'll bring it underneath all of these wires as well. And then the L1 wire, pull that out, feed it underneath as well, and get it reattached. So that now is how they have that in the instruction manual. So now I can take the retaining clip here, and this is actually just a press fit into those 2 lugs. Make sure I don't have any wires pinched. Press those down nice and firm. And then I'll do the same thing over on this side as well. So press everything down in. And that's now held into place. So at the end of step 64, this would be how this should end up looking. Now all I've done is just temporarily attached the this bottom piece. Like I said, I still need to finish doing the sanding work on it that I want to do and get it completely painted so that it will blend in nicely. The next thing to do is to move on into step number 65. Step number 65. There's not a lot that needs to be done in this particular issue. We're given the first section of the top of the Dalek bumper. As you can see, this is a plastic piece. And just like we did with the lower section of the bumper, each of these little brackets is going to be attached, and that is going to create the overall bumper for the base of the Dalek. So not much that needs to be done here. Just going to go ahead and get the first bracket put into place. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over, set it just like in the way the directions have it. This bracket's going to go here. This bracket's going to go here. Get these screws out and ready to go. I am going to once again add a little bit of glue to the where the bracket goes on. That'll be all that'll be needed on there. And that'll be all that'll be needed on there. So we're going to go ahead and get this pressed down into place. I'll press that one down in, and now go ahead and add the screws. And with that, that's the end of this stage. Finally, step number 66. This is another section of the skirt, and it is going to get attached to the part that we just completed in the last step. I was thinking about this as I was getting these parts out. there's this little detail here on the corners. I need to go and look at some reference materials, but I think these should actually be a silver color. I'll need to double check that for sure. If that is the case, then I will get those painted silver. But for now, let's go ahead and get this next piece put together. So I'm just going to set the parts to the side. And the screws ready to go. Okay, so to assemble this next section, we're going to take the first piece of the bumper, part A here, and that's going to get set upside down. And then we're going to take part F, which is the end of the bumper, and these two ends are going to get connected together. So once again, I'm going to put a very small amount of glue on the inside of the joint. Set these two pieces together and go ahead and get the screws put into place. Now the lower section of the bumper here, you can see if I just very lightly tug on that, that will open up. So to keep that from opening and expanding and breaking, this little bracket is going to go on, and that's going to pull these two pieces together, and that will then slide down into place just like that. And now finally, the other bracket that came with the parts, that is going to get put into here. Set that into place. And with that, that is the end of step number 66. But don't go away. I want to see how this is going to end up looking when it's put onto the base. So here's the base of the Dalek. The section that was just completed is actually the front of the Dalek and heading down the side. So that's going to go into place just like that. So in the months to come, we've got the rest of this to go all the way around, and eventually we're going to start working our way up. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you'll come back again next month for the next section of Build the Dalek. Goodbye, everybody.